Narelle and Amanda have become great and supportive buddies since August 2007, when Narelle moved out of residential dormitory-style care and into the flat with Amanda in the community. The brother Gary, the change in Narelle's personality and behaviour since she moved into the community has been dramatic, and she reminds him much more of the sister he grew up with.
When she lived with us at home, she was bright, inquiring, and very integrated into the family. In fact, our family is one of those that doesn't take any prisoners. We treat everyone the same, and she was always treated the same as every other member of the family, and was given a bad time like everyone else. And so she responded to that, and so she had a kind of a banter that she used with us as a family. After 20 or more years in Crowell, that went. She would come home for weekends, and sometimes she'd be like at my parents'. She'd be almost comatose. She'd kind of just sit and knit or whatever. Now she's much more active. She's much more talkative, and particularly with my two daughters, who seem to be able to. I don't know. They seem to be able to speak Narelle much better than I can. So they have conversations with her that I can't seem to have. But I mean, it's things that she wouldn't have done years ago.
From the age of 17, for 27 years, Narelle lived here in highly structured care.
The thing about Crowell is that when she was there, it was, and this is part of the attraction to my family and my parents, was that she was so safe there, because it was a kind of a closed environment, closed mini society, that it was kind of in a way easy to forget her. And so now that she lives a more normal life, it seems much more normal for her, for me to come here and for her to come to my place, etc. I mean, there were nights when I would take her home, say on a Sunday night after she'd been at my parents', and particularly on a bleak winter night, and I would drive her back to Crowell, and then I'd walk her, and you've been to where she used to live, so there was that flight of stairs, and walking up that on a bleak Sunday night, honestly, there were times I'd go back to my car and I'd dissolve into tears, that I'd kind of leaving my sister in a place like that used to upset me. Not all the time, but occasionally, I'd just kind of think about. Other times I'd take her up there and we'd open the door and everyone would be, "Hi, Narelle," and so I felt okay about it. But there's just those times, and it was usually those bleak winter nights, and I thought, there's got to be something better than this.
And the gym, what have we got to do this week? We've got to get you a new membership, Narelle?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Something better, according to Gary, is living in this flat with the support of carers, but with the everyday trials and tribulations and successes that goes with some independence.
And Amanda, we need $110 for you to go to the
hair.
You get your hair done.
Yes.
According to Gary, Narelle's move into community living was a difficult decision for the family, each member caring for Narelle, and each with a different point of view.
$5 for your budget.
But in the 2 years since the move, concerns have faded.
And we were vindicated. I once noted that one of Narelle's, she used to kind of, when she was living in the dormitory, she developed a kind of what I call an institutional shuffle, and it was the way she kind of walked with her head down and her eyes down all the time. And within a short time of her living independently, that kind of changed, and she started to take an interest. She started to take an interest in how she looked, and because people were actually making a fuss of her and saying, well, how would you like your hair done, and that kind of thing. And within months, she was talking about, when I talk about taking her home, if she was spending the weekend with us, she'd talk about going home to her flat, which was something I thought I'd never ever hear Narelle say, so so it's, as I say, it's been all good, there was a dip, but it's been all good.
part of the reconnection for people after they move out, often of large residential or large facilities, is a reconnection with their families first and foremost, and a reconnection with communities. Over 25 years, the organisations had to do some research in this area because it can be a bit fraught, and one of the things that 25 years ago, it was harder to make natural community relationships for people with disabilities because people didn't typically live in the community. So it was more unnatural, and there was a lot of fear on the part of families that people would be rejected in the community. And that fear has now, over time, because it's been more accepted now for some 20 plus years, that people go to school in the local community, that they attend, and that's meant that over the years people have developed lots of informal and natural relationships, quite independent of us, which is really delightful. So we're really pleased about those relationships.